Hello, 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 and welcome to the Shelly Show. This is Shailendra, and you're watching the Shelly Show live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and some other social media platforms. I hope you're safe in observing the protocols in your area for COVID. If we've heard about some COVID cases in some parts of the world. So if you are in COVID affected areas, please follow the protocols provided by the government. So we keep each other healthy, safe, and secure. For you to view this episode and other sessions that are run on emerging technologies live, I would request you to follow me so that you can be alerted when a live session is on. This gives you an opportunity to directly ask questions from our guests. So please press the follow button on LinkedIn and Twitter, subscribe button on YouTube, and the bell icon. And if you're watching this on Facebook, then please share this video with as many people as possible who are interested in emerging technologies, startups, and investments. Okay, so please, if you're watching this live now, let me know which city are you watching us from so that we get to know where all you are, where all our audience is at the moment. So please let me know, say a hi, and let me know about the city you're dialing in. Okay, last month we started world's first ever digital startup funding series, Digital Startup Pitch Night, which we hosted at the Oberoi in Gurugram on the 21st of July. It was attended by over 100 senior leaders in the industry in around Delhi NCR. And I hope you watched it because it was broadcasted live and there are videos and there are other elements of that particular event on social media that have been floating around. I hope you liked it and you watched it. If you haven't watched it, then you can watch it. I've put the link in the comment section and I've pinned it, so you can, after this episode, you can just click on it and go on to watch the entire episode if you want. Okay, so we had 8 startups during that event, namely Gokhana, OneFeed, Boomlet, Navgati, Waterdrop, Pekio, BDB.ai, Explosion, who pitched to our superstars, which included Girish Shivani, Sarthak Bakshi, Abhishek Garg, Gaurav Goyal, Anshul Kumar, Geeta Goyal, Ashish Bhatia. So quite a few people, and Vikas Nahar from Happilo. So what I thought was, why don't I bring along some of the superstars from the event so that they can share their experience, they can share what they think about the startup community, startup ecosystem in India. So without any further ado, let me start bringing our guests, and let's go on. So today I've got 3 of the 8 superstars to share their views on the startup industry in India and what they think about digital startup pitch night. My first guest is Abhishek Garg. Abhishek is an economic honors graduate from Delhi University. Then he did an MBA. He's a second generation wedding expert. His long standing wedding expertise has enabled him to think out of the box and marry technology with weddings. Marry technology with weddings, which led to the birth of his pet project, an online B2B wedding portal, Dulhania.com. Thinking from the hardcore investor's point of view, Abhishek recently invested in yet another vertical to enhance and add value to his brand portfolio, which is called Travel Daddy, a travel vertical with an eye out for doing the same things differently. And Insta Baby Travel Daddy has, in a very short span of time, just a couple of months, done an impressive amount of business. So, without any further ado, let me bring in Abhishek from Dulhania.com. Hi, Abhishek. How are you doing? Welcome to the Shelly Show. I think we can't hear you. You're on mute. I still can't hear you, Abhishek. Okay. While you figure out your microphone, let me go in and get the other guests as well. So my second guest is Girish Shivani. Girish is the founder of Your Nest VC, an early stage fund sharply focused on investing in IP-led product innovation from India, selling to enterprises across the globe. At Your Nest, he is responsible for developing the investment strategies, spotting emerging trends, identifying investment opportunities, mentoring and reviewing progress at portfolio companies, and handholding them for building robust processes leading to the success. Girish has an experience in telecom, media, IT consulting, and financial services, and he's an alumnus of St. Stephen's College in New Delhi. So, and then he did MBA from IMT Ghaziabad. Without any further ado, let me bring in Girish. Hi, Girish. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you so much for having me, Shelly.
Good stuff, Girish. Girish, can you please give a bit of understanding of what do you think about where are you investing next, and also one fun fact about yourself.
Yeah, so as you know, so at a fund level, we are sharply focused on IP-led innovations. So we are looking at multiple opportunities in cybersecurities, wearables, etc. At this point in time. One fun fact about me, so I'm quite an avid cook actually, and I can do a decent job in the kitchen, which a lot of people don't know about.
Okay, good stuff. I think we can hear Abhishek now. Hi, Abhishek. Can we hear you?
Yes, please tell me, am I live?
Good stuff. Yes, you're live and
Yes.
we can hear you. So, Abhishek, uh, for our audience, please tell a fun fact about yourself and where are you focusing. I just talked about Travel Daddy. Tell us a bit about Travel Daddy as well.
So we all have been traveling a lot. Indians are making waves all across the world, and India as a market is a very promising market for people from all across the world. People are dying to do business with India. So my thought is that when the world is knocking on India's doors, we being in India, why don't we reach out to the travel and tourism industry? So I see a lot of boom in the industry in the coming years. So, and again, the ethos will be that how to empower the last mile customer in the Indian tourism ecosystem. So that is the ethos of the company. So we are launching some fantastic deals and a lot of fantastic products. So another couple of months, and I think it will be a household name very soon.
Good stuff. Thank you. Okay, let me quickly get the third guest. My third guest is Dr. Sarthak Bakshi. Sarthak Bakshi. Actually, let's do something different. Let's bring him in now and speak to him directly without introducing. Hi, Dr. Bakshi. How are you?
I'm doing good, Shalendra. Thank you. Thank
Very
you.
good. So, Dr. Bakshi, I've done it different way this time. So, I would give you the opportunity to introduce yourself. Please go and introduce yourself, please.
So for a fun fact, what do I do for a living is I make babies. And I mean, biologically, I have my own, but I help other people in conception, and that's what IVF is. In the startup industry and in the VC world, I'm an active angel investor, investing through various syndicates and platforms, as well as helping a lot of other startups with advisory and strategic mentorship. I've been myself a part of a couple of startups, and I'm still actively involved with them. But the main and the core focus business is IVF, and we are now self, as you said, from a traditional point of view. We are leveraging AI and machine learning in the IVF space itself, and that's where I really am keen with all the startups to understand that there is a form of technology that will help make your business, your product, your service more efficient, faster, transparent, better, and everything that can be done. So that's what startups are meant to do. And if your startup is not doing that, then your startup is probably at the wrong end of the stick. So that's what I
Good stuff. Very well put. So before I get on to the meat of and start asking questions to you guys, everyone who's watching this, please press the like button, share button, love button, whatever it is, and so that more and more people can watch it. Please put your comments in the comment section, because what we're going to do is, after I've asked my questions, we'll go to an audience Q&A section where we will ask the questions that you guys are asking our guests. So if you've got a question, please put that question in the comment section wherever you are, and we will take those questions right at the end. So let me start with the first question that I have on my mind. Um, Guys, what do you think about the startup industry in India? How is it growing? What's happening at the moment? So I think Girish, you would be the best person to talk about the startup industry, the culture. I've heard stories. I'm sitting in Sydney at the moment, but I've heard a lot of stories about the booming startup sector in India. So Girish, what do you think?
Yeah, sure. No, no. So, so we've been in the fund business for 10 years now, 10 plus years now, and we've had a ringside view of how this entire ecosystem has evolved. So when we started, for example, in 2011, we were probably the third or the fourth early stage fund focused on deep tech in India, or on technology in India, not even deep tech. Deep tech did not exist as terminology. There were probably 150 plus angel investors. About 100 odd companies used to get funded every year.
Mhm.
And contrast that with today, and as an industry, that was about 300-400 million dollars in terms of size. Contrast that with today, there are about 75 or 80 funds of our ilk who basically invest in early stage tech and tech enabled, including deep tech startups. At last count, there was about 4,500 angel investors. Last year, I think the Indian markets raised about 20 odd billion dollars in the early stage, growth stage VC space. So that's a huge shift in terms of how the markets have evolved. But we still have a very long way to go. So compare this with the US, for example, where there are about 13,000 funds, 600,000 plus angel investors, they do some, 250 odd billion dollars of investments every year. So that's how we see the trajectory is going to be over the next 10, 12, 15 years. And it's a very interesting place to be in because very few markets we have seen grow as fast as the VC industry in India, for example.
No, no, truly, I've seen that as well. Abhishek, what's your point of view on the startup industry in India? How is it booming?
I see a lot of promise in the industry, and as we witnessed in the first physical event, the audience was very, very engaged with the people who were presenting. So that fact only exemplifies that people are excited. We are, and by default, I believe Indians are very entrepreneurial in spirit. So I see a lot of traction coming over here. And now, earlier, the ecosystem was driven by a lot of foreign capital.
Yep.
So I see this one big shift in the upcoming 10 years. I see a lot of Indian business houses. They are going to come in a big way to promote Indian startup ecosystem.
Mhm, mhm. No, no, that's true. I think the other thing which I have felt while I was there for a couple of months in India was that a lot of Indian investors, homegrown investors, have now come into play, and people are liking to actually, invest in startups at a normal level. They're looking at a third way of or a third area of investment apart from share market and real estate. Do you think that's happening there?
Yes, yes, definitely. I totally agree.
Okay.
There is no end to the dimensions that this system will acquire, and I think because the ease of doing business is also easing up in India day by day,
Mhm.
as the systemic shifts that the government planned 2 years back, like GST and lot of other complications, they are slowly and gradually removing the shackles that were there for decades. So me being a young entrepreneur myself, I see a lot of ease in doing business. So if I want to scale up my business in say like 50 cities across India today, it was not as easy a decade back, because now with 5G also coming in, so technology is going to play a major part in the way business are going to pick up pace faster. So the growth curve will hasten up, and the shackles and the obstacles will reduce in future. So I see, be it share markets or be it any other platform where you are seeing expansion, I think all the dimensions will play their maximum potential.
Good stuff. Sarthak, what's your point of view on this?
There is no doubt that the ecosystem is not only evolving, it's expanding at a rapid pace. Shows like Shark Tank and Horses Stable, I mean, through the media itself, and the aspiration to become an entrepreneur is very high. What was probably considered very risky, and people were averse to, starting up something. With when the thought process was, what if we lose money, time, energy, shame from the society? That is the biggest paradigm shift that I have seen changing. Is that more and more people, probably, I don't know, for not all of them for the right reasons, but probably for the fame of a startup, but a lot more inclination, especially there from college going kids, to start something up and take the plunge, take the risk, that there is always a next step. They don't want the safer option of a job working for an IT company from 9 to 6, but rather than spend 2 to 3 years. And because the ecosystem is there now to help them with accelerators, incubators, and venture capitalist funds there to support them. So the capitalization, I would say, from coming from an agrarian society that we have been in India and moving towards a capitalistic one like the US or in any other developed country, to generate business, to generate employment. We're moving towards that, and that's only because that startup ecosystem has evolved so much. It is such a giving and thriving system, and I only hope that it keeps on increasing because it's just doing wonders for the economy only.
No, no, absolutely well said. Actually, I'll give you a personal experience where I think around about 18, 17, 18 years ago, when I was in India and I started a company, it was so hard to set up a startup. Well, we were a startup in true sense, but there was no way to get any funding, there was no way to get any mentorship. There was no way I could actually interact with someone to get some guidance on what is happening. But today, it's a very different world. And when you go to India, you meet people. I've seen so many people who are so enthusiastic about about starting a startup or doing something different. I think it is indeed in itself a game changer, as you see that. Before I go to the next section, guys, if you're watching this live, please press the like button so that more people can get access and view this episode of the Shelly Show. Okay, what do you guys see as gap, and which in my world a gap leads to an opportunity? So what do you see are the gaps for the startups in the Indian startup ecosystem that can actually help startups to flourish, or is an opportunity that you see? Abhishek, I'll start with you. You're on mute, I think, again.
I see. Am I audible?
Yeah, yeah, you are.
Yeah. So I personally feel that these startups, the general sentiment is that if I am a startup and I am looking to build my business, the first thought that comes to our mind is that we are looking for funding.
Yep,
So I'm talking as a startup. So I see funding as a function of the strength of the project.
yep.
So before going on to the funding part, I would want to, our Indian startup ecosystem at least, to move in a direction where mentoring plays a major role, and that becomes the forefront of the discussion. So if there are a million startups that are coming out in the next decade, and if they get right mentorship at the first step, and the project strength is very very high, so I don't see where is the challenge in acquiring funding. So that is a big gap area because I don't see a lot of avenues. So if I'm a new startup, I don't know where to go, whom to meet. I have to be a very very big project to acquire some mentoring.
Hmm.
So there is no easy access for me as a startup. So I would love to see if there are a lot of people, maybe voluntary, maybe some companies. So if they do that part without any discussion on the funding part,
Hmm.
because at the ideation stage, so what I witnessed at the first event also recently that you did, so there were some startups who were not very strong in their concept, but they were still looking for funding.
Hmm.
So
That's
that
a
is a
live
gap. If we
कृषि
are able
सेशन
to
चल रहा
solve
है,
that,
वीडियो
I
सेशन
see.
चल रहा है किसी के साथ.
Hmm.
So that is a big gap area because I saw because and so to add to conclude my point, the kind of money that is circulating in the Indian system, I don't see money as a challenge. I see people are ready to invest in good projects. People are even ready to invest in average projects, I would say.
Yep.
So if we want to build a system really really strong, my pain area would be that if we can address the mentoring part, if we can guide, if we can catch hold of the startups at the stage one, and we can involve ourselves deeply in that stage. So it would
No.
lead to be yeah.
No, that's absolutely true. I think that is what I've seen as well. Girish, how do you address that problem? First of all, tell me what gaps, because you are close to that environment quite more than anyone else, right? What do you see as a gap and hence the opportunity? And then picking up what Abhishek just said about the mentorship, are you guys doing something similar as well, or how do you see that evolving
Yeah.
in your part of the world?
So I think the thesis internally we have is that there's a lot of work that has gone on the services side of the world. A lot of large companies have been created. India being a large consumer market, large labor market. Services has traditionally been the strength. But I think with the way things have evolved in China, etc., I think the next big opportunity will probably lie in building out product companies from India.
Mhm.
and early signs of that are already available, with respect to the kind of unicorns that have come about, the kind of companies that have come about and gone global in terms of scale, etc. Freshdesk, Zoho, Unifor, Dhruva, etc. And there is clearly a large play there, and it leverages the core demographic profile on which the entire IT services play was built out. English speaking, smart engineers, who are building services for the world, now are starting to build products for the world. And I think that's where the large opportunity, where IP gets created, technology modes get created, and entrepreneurs go out and literally scale the world. So that, in our mind, at a fund level, is the very big opportunity from a thesis perspective. And that's where we think there is a clear head start that India has because of the kind of demographic profile we bring to the table. Answering the other question where you talked about mentoring and all that stuff. So we pride actually ourselves in calling ourselves nurture capitalists.
Mhm.
For us, capital is only 40-50% of what we bring to the table. There's a lot of hand holding, support, getting the founders in front of the right set of investors, helping them open doors in terms of customer introductions. We are the only fund probably in the country where we have a full-time general partner whose only job is to work with founders and his teams to help build culture, and and he used to be an executive coach in his
Mhm.
earlier avatar. So he kind of mentors, etc. All the founders and their first line. So for us, we understand that it's difficult to build businesses in India. It takes time and effort, and whatever we can do to facilitate and help our entrepreneurs and founders, to scale rapidly, we are happy to do that. Because at the end of the day, as a financial investor, our returns are directly linked to the success of the founder.
Of
We
course.
win when they win, right? And therefore it is in our interest to ensure whatever is required from their end, to help in providing that as part of not only capital but also all the other softer elements of investing, as I call them.
Mhm.
So that's the way we see, we see investing evolve as well over the next few years.
Mhm. Sarthak, what do you think? What do you see as gaps in, and hence the opportunity, and also mentorship, and how do you think that that is evolving in the Indian ecosystem, in the startup ecosystem?
As I said earlier, that it's evolved quite a lot already. There are structures, and as Mr. Girish is already pointing out, that everything is probably now in place. There are a lot of models in place on how and mentor is onboarded, the agreements, the contracts, and is it for equity and without or equity, or if you're part of an accelerator, what are the perks or the benefits from AWS credits to Google credits, and what are the benefits, how you don't need to spend a lot of money on some other things, and strategy on whatever the help is required. Everything has now been in place, put in place in a way that it's so structured that it's up to you need to just have the zeal and conviction in your idea, and there is someone or the other to help you over there. So more than that, it's I would say, suggest that uh, everything, we are just looking for talented people who want to make a difference.
Mhm.
What, as you pointed out, Shalendra, that probably 10 years ago, you had to scratch out, you had to mail, and probably the LinkedIn was also was not that reachable, or the outreach wasn't there for anyone to reach the right place or to the right person, and it was just sort of that mailers, indirect mailers that you were randomly sending out looking for help and there. But nowadays, I mean, with the ease of connection, the availability, the accessibility of the right person is readily available. I mean, and based on that fact, If you're hell bent on doing something, there is I mean, the Indian ecosystem and the world is there to support you. If you have the connection, and that's where I feel that the gap is probably there are a lot of people are wanting to do this for the fame of it rather than the conviction that they have. It's if I get funds, I will be successful. If I don't get funds, I'm not successful. So that's the biggest difference where I find is that funds are available, but obviously you need to convince the 10 other people that you will be able to make a difference. Retrospectively, it's very easy for people to point out that, oh, Zomato became a success, oh, you became a success, and all of that. But what they have been through, you were not there when they were struggling, when they were putting in, when they put in their papers of from the cushy jobs, when they were hell bent, or how they were spending their nights and day, and nobody was part of that journey. They have only seen, oh, $500 million raised and 50 million raised, and that number just excites the young generation so much that, okay, it's easy peasy, so many zeros, and that too into dollars. So that's the thing which I feel, has is probably needs to be mature enough, where people need to understand that you not every idea will be successful, and not every startup. The ratio was probably 90 to 95% where startups are failing. I think that has gone down to 80%, but that's always because people just start up for the sake of it. I mean, genuinely, what I feel is there are a few business metrics, business model canvassing, reaching out to 10 people from sharing an idea. Just do not go into developing a website or an app and, oh, I think of it and I've gone down. I've paid 5 lakh rupees to a vendor, एक website खड़ी कर दी है, बस अब तो हो गया, that's it. And now you're at investor's helm. I have made this. The website is there. Check it. Check it. It's a prototype. It's a beta stage. It's an MVP stage, and that's my problem. The website or app is the least botheration that I would get into, because I need to feel the idea. I need to see the gap. I need to see how will you solve the gap. Technology will be there to support you, but that does not mean that you just make that technology and thinking that the retrospectively things will turn out to that way. So for me, that's the biggest gap which I actually mentor and help people to understand, that you should not just start making the product, rather than think psychologically, think like a customer. Why would I even shell 100 rupees unless I believe that, yes, your product is worthwhile to me?
Mhm. No, no, totally agree with you. And I was, while you were speaking, I was just thinking that, lots of people get into, starting a startup for the sake of starting the startup. And that is some of the guys I've seen. And then they don't have that passion. They don't believe in that particular idea, but they want to do it just because their friend is doing it or someone else is doing it and so forth. Okay, let's get to the next round of questions very, very quickly. Guys, if you're watching this live on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook, wherever you're watching this, please press the like button so that more people can watch this as they go forward. And please don't forget to share this video with as many people as possible, so that more people can watch it. Okay, DSPN. So we did DSPN last month. Um, tell us. I'm taking this risk of asking questions directly on a live environment. What did you think about the format, guys? So, Sarthak, I'll ask you first. Um, what do you think about the format? And also, honestly, give us an idea what changes should we make to the current format in the upcoming sessions or upcoming episodes, in your point of view?
Uh, as I said that, it's always good to listen to conviction people with conviction, that they want to change, and they have thought of it, they have put in the effort, and we can only share our experiences. I can only tell them my mistakes and expect them not to make the mistakes that I did. Their journey is their own, and we can only be bystanders or supporters, or push them throughout their journey. We cannot create the path for anyone, and I firmly believe that all founders or all entrepreneurs have to find their own path and journey by treading on it. In the similar way, the event was very welcoming, very warming, and eye-opening, in terms of, there are a lot of people that are trying to do, and hope that, or even all the audience and all my fellow jury members and panelists would had understood that, yes, I mean, we are listening to pitches every day, But when you're presenting from a virtual point of view to a physical point of view, there's always that difference that you get to interact better. You need to answer. The body language also speaks for you. You can always see very subtle differences if the person's hands are trembling, and the confidence that they have, and if they're probably on virtually, the arrogance is there or not. There's so many things that you can get to see physically. So that's the basic difference between a digital and a physical startup for me, or an event fair, that you always get to judge better. And personally, as I've always said, I always want the entrepreneur to limit their pitch within 3 minutes. 3 minutes
Exactly.
is more than enough. We don't require more knowledge. What we require is more Q&A and more understanding. And that's where I would want all the pitch sessions to have 3 plus 9 or 3 plus 7 at least. That that Q&A clears up a lot more for me than the person pitching. They can give me all the big numbers in the world of a $50 billion market is there, and we are this, we our team is IIT Kharagpur, and I am the Roorkees and all of that. But at the end of the day, it's what have you done, how did you do it, why the X, there is a competitor that we already know of, how you're different from those questions are always done in a Q&A. And I will always love that Q&A to be longer and briefer, and faster, so that we can reach to a conclusion for that call.
Now, perfect. Before I come to Girish, I'll go to Abhishek because Girish would have a much more different point of view on that. So, Abhishek, what did you think about the event, about the event format? So, is that because this was the first time and we exposed you raw? We didn't give you any background to it. We just brought you in. What did you think about the format? Do you think that that was the right format? Should we make changes to it for the next episode and so forth?
So first of all, I would like to applaud you for your effort. Uh, since we came to know that you planned it all in 30 to 40 days, so it was stupendous. In that amount of time, the amount of coordination, the thought process, the energy behind it, and the success of the show, it was visible for everybody to see. So kudos to your entire team and to your
Thank you very
intent for
much.
the Indian startup ecosystem. And of course, I agree with Dr. Bakshi that it was a very warm event. It was very welcoming. There was not very it was very warm, I would say. And one specific input that I would want to give is that so like he made out a very specific point that the Q&A should be longer. So I concur with that, and my contribution to that would be that both the company or the person who's pitching, they should be very very conclusive in what they are looking for. So if in the next format, on so you do a lot of media branding over there, so there should be a lot of clarity that what is the kind of money that these people are looking for. We shouldn't be asking those questions to them over there. And on the other hand, if there is a person who's looking to invest over there, even the person who's pitching, he should know that this is the bandwidth. So somebody may be putting 1 million rupees, somebody may be putting 100 million rupees. So both the sides should have a lot of clarity that what is the kind of exchange we are looking from each other.
Sure. No, totally agree with you. So we will make those changes, and we've got a bit of thought process around that that which we ignored for a minute because that was the first time we were doing it, and we wanted to get the thing in place in the first place. But of course, we're thinking of doing that, making sure that there is an interaction between the superstars and the startups beforehand as well, so that people have made their mind to an extent. Girish, to you. You come from the real VC side of things. Do you think about the format per se, DSPN format, and what changes if you were to make a change, one or two changes? What changes would you do?
So I think the format was brilliant. I think there was no two ways about it. The way it was conducted, the way it was managed was very professional. I think the one primary change that I would like to recommend is to keep it vertical centric.
Okay,
Some of these startups, so there was a diverse range of startups here, from consumer to non-consumer to tech to non-tech, etc. And that always, has its own challenge in terms of trying to compare one against the other. If there is a little bit of homogeneity in the ways the selection process is run and in the way the startups are selected, for example, there could be one, for fintech, there could be another for health tech, There could be another for Martech, and then that there are 7 or 8 pitches that you would hear, and these will be very sharply focused on the vertical that you had chosen for that day. And that kind of helps you in selection of the jury, the selection of the superstars as well, because then you can bring in the right set of subject matter experts, etc., to come in and add value to these startups. At the end of the day, the startups have to be able to gain something from this interaction. Funding is one part of it, but feedback, support. I remember, the Satviko guy actually, went out and, no, so the so one of the superstars actually went out and made an introduction with his team right there, you know, with one of the startups that was doing work in the influencer marketing side of the world, right? So those kind of gestures are always welcome, and if you have people with the coming in from the same verticals that the startups are, it makes easier, to make those connects and get some benefit for the startups, even if they don't get funding, from the event. It's like instant gratification, right?
Mhm.
That to my mind, could be one way to kind of make it tighter, interesting.
Good stuff. Thank you for that. Actually, this brings me to one question which I will ask Girish you first. Is which was your favorite startup? And I'll name them just so to refresh your memory. We had we started with Gokhana, which then was followed up by Waterdrop, I think, Pekio, then Waterdrop, then we had Boomlet, then we had Navgati, then we had BDB.ai, and then Explurger, which was, I think, the Sonu Sood's startup. So, which one was your favorite? And then I'll go to the other jury members as well.
Yeah, so we had a follow-up chat with Navgati, I remember for
Uh-huh.
sure.
Mhm.
We also had I had a conversation with the Boomlet guys while they were, there in the event. Those two kind of piqued my interest. I think the other thing you might want to continue in the continuation of the last question you asked me is to ensure that some of these startups are at the same stage.
Yep.
There were companies which were doing 4 or 5 crores in revenue. There were companies which were just starting up. There were companies which were at an idea stage, or even at a pre-product stage. So if you were to kind of, next time when you do this, if you were to kind companies with the same level of maturity, at a product at a business level, then it's easier to compare as well. So but those were the two that I kind of had further interactions with, definitely.
Sure. I'll tell you one thing to your point around, having a vertical kind of an event that came to our mind in the initial days. But then we thought, we will be only competing startups against startup, and that will become a bit of a challenge and may not work very well. And that is why, being the first event, we didn't want to have that kind of a notion as well, and that's why we backed out from that. But initially, we wanted to do machine learning kind of an event only, or then AI or emerging technologies kind of a. So then we made it broad brush, saying that we will have a digital event. Anyone with a digital background can come and pitch. Anyways, we will have that discussion as we go forward. Abhishek, which one was your favorite startup?
So I saw a lot of promise in Navgati. Explorer was a very good idea, and even for that matter, very very fresh ideation stage companies like Waterdrop have a lot of future if guided right. As I mentioned about mentoring, what Girish acknowledged that they are focusing on nurturing. So these three, I saw a lot of promise in, and even companies like Boomlet Media, but at that point of time, they were I think not very excited for investment.
Mhm.
So I see their model can be amplified a lot and replicated in a lot of places. So yeah, so
Mhm.
these were the
So
four.
yeah, Water Drop excited me a bit because I couldn't believe a guy in the in fourth year of his college and trying to do something at that level. In fact, what were we doing in year four? Right, I don't even remember. Right, we were like not even sure what are we going to do after we leave college. But that was quite an inspirational story in my mind. I think that was a good one. Dr. Sarthi. Dr. Sarthak Bakshi, which was your favorite
I
startup?
think you have to go with the crowd favorite. Navdati has been a crowd favorite for everyone, so there is no second thoughts about that. They have actually done well, and you need to applaud them for the fact that they're actually the idea was good, the execution is good, the team has been excellent. So all the checkpoints for successful startup, they have been. You can just tick them off, and that's why all the panelists would and the jury members would agree with them. Apart from that, as you said that, as Abhishek has already pointed out, that there were a few people who probably were not. I would say that's where the improvement would come. That probably water drop was should not have been at that stage. I would say because they were too early. They're at an ideation, so they were not the right for me personally. I would not have wanted to listen them at such a at a big stage. Probably nothing against them. They nothing against the founder. He's in this college fourth year and he's doing wonderful. But at that event or at that point of time, you would be looking for a more serious company who are actually, who are hungry for the investors' money, who are hungry to prove them out, and who are just craving with their metrics. So like Explosion was one of them, which was hungry. Good or bad, that'll be a point later. But for me, Waterdrop wasn't the right candidate, and even Boomlet Media wasn't the right. Two of the startups which should not have come and pitched at that event because as pointed out that they were just not there for the money or for mentorship. They were just there. We wanted to reach out to audience. We are just here. Okay, Tata, bye bye. We have a flight to catch. Okay, oh my god.
No,
So those
I
things
think I will give that to you because absolutely we were not even sure about what they did because when we spoke to them and we groomed them, they were pretty much wanting to get funded. And then just at the event, they turn around and I wasn't even, I heard this the next morning that they on
Hmm.
stage said that, they're not looking for fund. And I was like,
Hmm.
how did that change? It just
Uh,
yeah, so that was sad. Anyways, that's all I can say. But yes, others Navgati is everyone's favorite. I know.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That in any pitch event, that we have been part of, so we're very clear that we are coming. There's definitely an ask, X amount of crores or lakhs of rupees, and this is what we bring to the table. This is what we have done. Are we purely an MVP or an ideation stage? Then that probably you're not on the right platform. There are other platforms that you go there and then your journey. So again, a very prime example like Shark Tank. It's not meant for startups. I would not say anybody that pitches to a VC and goes to a Shark Tank, although all the judges I have raised money themselves, but at Shark Tank, it's the other way around. Arey, boss, क्या business कर रहा है? And as Ashwini says, ये तो सब दोगलापन है. मतलब they're just looking for numbers over there. Unless you're a business, a profitable business, which 99% of the startups are not in the beginning of their journey. So if some startups are going to a Shark Tank and telling them about our app downloads are 10,000 but zero revenue, they will just shoo them away. Because so every platform has their own USPs, and that's where I think the suggestion from my side to Shalin was that for our event, that what is the USP? Is it money on the table? Is that mentorship on the table, or is that acceleration with Girish or with Abhishek? Right on the table, you choose, and this person will give you 1 hour a week of their valuable time and help you or guide you. Uh, so that's the thing, that yes, this is the USP of the event, and I would like to. That's my suggestion, that you give them, if they're coming over here, this is what they're getting. Apart from the AWS and the Google credits and all the other free GoDaddy 5,000 rupees voucher and all of that stuff, which we can
Yeah.
obviously give to you guys.
No,
But apart from that, you get the X amount, the invaluable amount of mentorship and strategiship of these renowned jury members that we have over here. You get that, their 1 hour of time is as good as lakhs of rupees of investment only.
exactly, exactly. I totally get your point on this. People don't value that as valuable stuff. Okay, let's talk about the Indian startup ecosystem per se. you know, during the event, I pointed out 5 different areas or 5 different pillars that we are focusing on at Engage AI and DSPN, driving that kind of a vehicle. Did I miss anything, or do you think so? The 5 ones, just for your memory, was funding, brand recognition, global visibility, mentorship, and networking. Because I think networking is very, very important to rightly understand whether that particular product or service is going to cut it in the market also. I think that kind of guidance startups don't get. That's my point of view. What do you think, Girish? I'll start with you on this.
I think the biggest thing, startups crave for is cash flow, and that comes from revenue. So if there is a way to kind of build in that, networking is in that, in that flavor. But generally, if there was a way to kind of expose these startups to people, to potential buyers of their products or services, I think that would become a very interesting play.
Hmm.
And therefore, how do we kind of get the right set of audience superstars who can become their potential customers, and that's where the verticalization will end up being critical, because a fintech guy does not want to listen to what a health tech is doing, literally, right? And therefore, and that to my mind is the most important, because the rubber hits the road when the customer writes a check, and say you cannot get a validation higher than that, that your product has achieved product market fit, that customers are willing to, they find your product and services valuable, and they're willing to pay for it. So if that kind of element or angle we can bring to the as a sixth pillar, to my mind, that could become a very interesting play for the startups.
No, I totally agree with you on this. I think that could be a game changer if we could bring the revenue. And I need to think about this. You've actually raised a very good point. I think we should think about that element. What do you think, Abhishek?
So I would like to amplify a very left. So when we talk about networking, so the first step he mentioned is that cash flows. I agree, because without cash flow you cannot sustain. So the pillar, how will cash flows come? When you are visible, when people know about your product. So hence comes networking. Second step, I agree. Third step, I would like to contribute that we as superstars or as support system or pillars or mentors. So if we can help them amplify their network very, very fast, if their visibility multiplies by coming in contact with us, so we can use the power of social media, the other things that are at our disposal. So these companies immediately multiply their audience, because physical networking, the event that we did on that day, we can do at maximum X number of events in a year. So they can meet as many people as they can during those events. But if we design a strategy, or we, come in support in a way where they can amplify the network very fast, so that would be a big pillar for them, because then the brands automatically become bigger, faster in a shorter time curve.
Now, as you said that, is it a good idea? And we're just thinking, right? Is it a good idea to put in, or to have a live with one of these startups and 3 or 4 of the superstars at a given point in time, and that way they can share their business model to the world and also get guidance in a live session on social media. That could be a good idea as well. I'm just thinking as we speak, right?
Let's take Dr. Bakshi's view on that.
Yep, Dr. Bakshi, what do you think?
I mean, it's always, but you have to ask the startup that is he ready to go and pitch to the world. The basic confidentiality is that you're asking all the numbers, and it's a very direct question. It's like with fame there are orders. Why do people go on Shark Tank? Is because if they, even if they don't receive the money, they receive that much publicity, which is equivalent to crores of rupees of marketing. So if they're like same thing like horse stable and everything, they are ready to go. I am very sure that all the people would love to come. If you have a lot of audience listening, there is no second thoughts about that. Even if they're going for a closed room pitching, they are ready to go for a virtual round of pitching. If you can actually feel that, yes, we have an audience of lakhs of people watching you, if they'll you probably might get orders. People might start using your service. There might be people interested to collaborate. There would be probably investors listening who will reach out to you personally. So the benefits are aplenty, and the world will open up to you. And that's what we are doing through all virtual sessions. That we are opening ourselves. We are opening our mentorship, guidance, strategy, and the same way the idea is opening up to so many other plethora of opportunities.
Good stuff. No, I totally get that, and I think I should bake that in into the model as we go forward to the next episode, coming soon. And I keep on saying coming soon because we did announce September as the event date, but we still are in the middle of getting things sorted. So it might get just delayed by a week or so. But having said that, we are up for the second event coming soon. Having said that, finally, before I get to the audience Q&A, um, your advice to startups who may want to pitch at DSPN next time, what would you advise them? And I will start in alphabetical order with Abhishek this time around.
So again, like Sarthak pointed out, what kind of companies go at the Shark Tank? They are not at ideation stage. The feedback that we had regarding Waterdrop and Boomlet, so Boomlet is, sorry, a functional company. So my point would be that companies should avoid coming to pitch at the ideation stage. They should be looking for investment at least after solving the first curve of running their business. They should have a set of learnings that these are the gray areas, these are the areas where we were falling, these are the areas where we were winning. So then as a mentor or as a support system, maybe in terms of money, maybe in terms of knowledge transfer, so when those set of the parameters are clear in front of us, so we can be more meaningful also in their life. Because if it's a hardcore money transfer thing, so that becomes very very risky and dicey, because the knowledge part is missing then. So in the second phase, I would love to see the companies that have been there for around, say, like minimum 6 months at least, minimum.
Okay, that's good. Girish, what do you think? What advice would you like to give to the startups who want to pitch at the next event?
I think you should definitely have a slide on competition.
Hmm.
It is always good to understand who you are up against, what kind of, form factor, pricing, etc. your competition is offering in the market. And that helps set the context for us as well when it comes to taking a decision. A couple of conversations that we saw, on that day, did not do justice to that part of the business. Because at the end of the day, understanding of how your ecosystem is and how is it evolving and what the other players that you should be on the lookout for, it will always hold you in good stead. And quite a few times we've seen, even in our regular day-to-day business, we see a lot of pitches missing on that very important part of their business, in terms of what their competition is doing and how have they scaled up and what has worked for them and what has not worked for them. It's cheaper to learn from other people's mistakes rather than make your own mistakes, right? Especially if you're a startup. And that, to my mind, is an efficient way of learning. So I think that's something that we should insist on.
Good stuff. Dr. Bakshi.
Uh, I think we have probably covered everything that is there. Uh, More Q&A, and particularly said for that, we are resounding that we are probably going beyond the ideation stage, and nobody's looking at ideation stage companies as if now, since there are 10 ways to prove that how that you have go to market strategy and all of that should be already given. What I'm looking for other point of startups is that the conversation that I'm looking with the founder, that okay, if you think, what did you do to reach to this stage, and what are you going to do next with the amount of money, because on a general slide it's 25% into tech, 40% into operations. That's too much. So uh, the amount of money that you're getting, is it purely for marketing, reaching out and getting customers after the product is ready, or is it purely, develop a faster tech, pivoting to a completely different thing? The market is evolving so frequently. Like, we were just talking about e-commerce, and it suddenly pivoted to less than 10-minute delivery, where all the players had to pivot. We're talking right now about beauty apps. So Nika has gathered all the market. There are very few competitors who are able to will be able to leverage. So if someone comes out with a beauty and grooming e-commerce, so the competition is purely Nika, and what are you doing? Nobody can beat them now. They've already amassed at a stage, so there have to be something different. It cannot be just pure beauty commerce. It has to be probably a headless e-commerce or something other than that. So that's where, and that cannot be explained on a slide for me. So I need to understand the demographics and the strategy that someone is going for, because that's all what we also offer. Execution will always come into play when the money comes in, but the exact amount of strategy and how are they going to work around it, for me, that's the ball game of there. And that's the startup. All that's what the startup is all about.
Okay. Thank you, guys. I've got two comments. Let me very quickly get to the audience Q&A section, and then we'll move on to the comments and questions very quickly. Okay, so we've got the first comment or question from Pranshu Mishra, and he says, "I want to participate for second episode, which is going to happen in Mumbai. For that, please tell me the date." Well, more than the date, I think you should take the advice and come back to us to tell us what are you, how many months have you been running your business for? I think that's what I would think. Anyone else wants to pitch in there? What do you tell?
Before coming to the episode directly, they need to go through a rigorous round of
Exactly.
vetting. Pranshu should actually go through the first hard steps of 3-4 levels of interview, and then that's the metric for coming directly live on a stage and pitching. So
Good stuff. There is a comment from Dayal Roy saying AIF. I don't know what that means. If anyone knows what AIF is, please let me know. Um, and
AIFs are alternate investment funds,
mhm.
but I'm not too sure what the question is
There's
specifically
correct.
just a
about.
comment there. Okay. Then there is a message from Sheena Alang. Brilliant inputs and informative tips for all upcoming startups. And finally, there is a comment again. Abhishek suggestions on having companies at least 6 months in existence is a brilliant idea. Both monetary and knowledge can be contributed accordingly. Absolutely well said, Sheena. Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else wants to add to what Sheena mentioned? Good stuff. We'll leave it here. So, guys, thank you very much. We are just on top of the hour. I really appreciate your time. It's always a pleasure talking to you guys. Thank you very much, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I
Thank you
look
so
forward
much
to
for
seeing
having us
you
here.
on the second episode, which is coming soon.
Yeah.
Bye now.
Thank you,
Bye bye.
everyone.
Take care. See you.
Bye bye. So, guys, that was Girish Shivani, Abhishek Garg, and Dr. Sarthak Bakshi, who were the of the three of the eight superstars on the day at Digital Startup Pitch Night at Gurgaon, and you heard from them. Hopefully, you liked what they had to say. If you've got any questions, you can put that in the comment section, and we will definitely bring that to them and take it to the next level. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Please don't forget to like this episode and share it with as many other people as possible. And also, if you're watching this on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever platform you're watching in, please press the follow, subscribe button so you get to hear when we go live next time. Thank you very much, and thank you for your time. Bye now. But before I go, there is a message from Angel Thomas, which says, "Good to have all these experts under one platform and nice points covered for any startup firm." So thank you, Angel. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys, and I'll see you very soon. Bye now.